So this is the first thing you will see when you look for Fiverr. They've recently changed their interface, but essentially over here, you can get freelance works and you can become a freelancer. So right now I'm looking at this as a client looking for freelance services. And the way that you would change to becoming a freelancer is by clicking on Become a Seller. So now this is a whole different interface, and essentially you make your profile, you make your gigs, you set your terms, and there are two different ways in which you can actually get work. One is where the clients come to you, and the other one is where you go to the client. So you can see a bit more about some success stories, steps, some Q&A, pretty simple and straightforward. What we're going to do in this lesson is make an account and set up our profile, and that way we can get started. So let's click on Become a Seller. So make your new account with whichever way you prefer, and then we can just go ahead and continue. So now that I'm signed in, I'm going to see my image right here. We're just going to click on it and head over to profile. All right, so this is where I get to set things up my way. First of all, we're going to change our display name into whatever we want. So let's do Olivia K. It's best to use your full real name rather than a nickname. That way people can trust you more. And when it comes to legalities, everything will be suitable. So I'm going to do Olivia K. You would put your full last name here. Save display name. And now we're just going to come down here and edit our stuff. So first is your description. Here it does tell you to put in your hobbies, additional expertise, and etc. But it's best to be upfront about what you can do for the client. So say you were a lawyer for 13 years. That's what you would add here. If you're a graphic designer specializing in posters, that's something you would put in here. So be very specific, straight to the point. First sentence, what can you do for your potential clients? So you would add that here. Then we have languages. Basically any language that you do know. I wouldn't suggest putting in languages where you're not fluent in, because clients will come to you and basically ask for maybe a translation of a document. If you're a graphic designer, design something in, say, Spanish. And if you put a language that you're not fluent in, then that will be an awkward conversation that you're going to have with your client. So only put in your native language and those that are you're fully confident in. So I'm just going to go over here and put in Spanish, and I'm going to say I'm fluent, add that in there. With English, can put our native language. Skills, we're going to come back to descriptions later. So with skills, we want to start from the thing that we're best at and make our way down from there. But we don't want to oversaturate our skill set, just because the main thing that could get you clients on Fiverr is actually your niche rather than the number of skills. So it's actually quality over quantity in this case. And the first skill that the client should see is going to have to be your best skill. And then the other two, because we're only doing 2 to 3, the other two should be something related to that. So you can't say that you do anime voice acting and then you do, 3D printing on the side. That kind of does not help in gaining the trust of your client. However, if you do 3D design and you do 3D printing as well as, say, 3D modeling, things that are in the same category, this is actually giving your client more options if they were to expand their project. So say they only wanted you to design a 3D character. They've come on your profile and they see that you also do 3D printing and you also do maybe game development. Instead of going to another freelancer, they could just come back to you because it's in that project requirement or related to that project. So let's go over here and I'm just going to go and focus on graphic design. So let's do graphic design and get more specific with it. If I'm really good at logos and that's what's my portfolio is composed of, I'm going to have to choose that. So say this is my main skill. We're going to add that there. branding is related to that. So you have a logo for your business, but your business should have a brand identity. So that's something that I could add here. So logo, brand. Third, we think about a business's products. That's where product design comes in handy. So if one of my clients comes for either one of these, I'm giving them the option to expand their business, their project more, because I offer related skills. Next is your education. You can either not put anything in here, put in your certificates instead. That's completely up to you. Obviously, if you have the right credentials, they're going to trust you more, but you don't necessarily need to have a huge educational background, because at the end of the day, they're going to see the works that you've done. If they like it, they'll hire you. If not, then they won't. So if you do not have an impressive educational background, don't be frazzled at all. You can just focus on your portfolio up here. Okay, so let's go back to our description. You could type this out, but a faster way to do it is to go into ChatGPT and have it compose a description for you based on what's popular on Fiverr. So that's kind of like an SEO thing. So let's do write me a Fiverr seller description as a logo designer with 10 years of experience. So in the second half here, put in what makes you credible. It could be 10 years of experience or with a niche in the food industry, whatever works for you. And it's going to write it up for you. It may give you a lot of text. You don't necessarily have to put all of that in because they're not going to read all of this. But as you can see, it is driving you in with things that would intrigue a client. So are you looking for stunning, memorable, professional logo, perfectly represents your brand? You've come to the right place. So rhetorical question. Or you could start from here. I'm blank, seasonal logo designer. Then after this, you could put the other stuff that could potentially convince the client to choose you over them. If you've worked with any high profile clients, you can put their name there. You can say how many projects you've worked on. Are you self-taught? Did you graduate from Harvard? Whatever. And you would put it in your description. So let's change this to Olivia. So creating unique and impactful logos for, let me put a niche here, say finance, businesses of all sizes. All right, so that's my description. We can always edit these at any time, so it's not set in stone. They recently added this learn from Fiverr element, which basically, if you click on it, it's a bunch of courses for you to enroll in, and then you would get the certification that would show up right below. So if you do want to hone in your skills, you would come here. Some of them are pretty good, especially the ones with the bestseller marks. See, there's one for graphic design. This person is pretty famous, so you can see that there's plenty of good options over there. Okay, let's close that. So before we go into setting up our gigs and our services, I'm just going to give you a quick overview about what's going on up here and what other services Fiverr gives to you as a seller. So there's obviously all these categories that you can look at for inspiration, see what the top freelancers do in your niche. So if I go to graphic design, let's go to logo design. That's kind of what we're going to do. I'm going to go from here. And we can see some of the gigs that are doing so well. So this is what the services that other freelancers have put out look like. They show up like this. We see their name up here. You can also do ads. So notice how these guys are ads. These are not. There's levels, and the higher the level, the better the freelancer. We have top rated. That will obviously catch your client's eye. We'll look at how we can level up in Fiverr in a further lesson. You can also become Fiverr's choice, and that is just dependent on how much people like you. And by people, I mean past clients. So there's that one-liner that is going to show up here. So what will you do for this client? The I will part is going to be there, and you're just going to put in the rest yourself. the ratings of these freelancers, their services, and how many people have used this service. If you go on the photos, you can look at the others, and there's ways to filter them. You can also choose in the logo style. So this again goes back to your niche. So what kind of logo styles are you going to do for your clients? Let's choose minimalist. So file format, I'm going to be offering them PNG, AI, and JPEG. Service includes transparency, vectors, source file, all that. Let's apply. Seller detail. Let's choose what a top seller offers. They speak English. Doesn't really matter where they live. And then the budget. So how much will I be charging my clients? I would choose that. So let's go with value for now. Apply. Delivery time. Let's say up to 3 days. Alright, so this person right here has had over 1,000 clients, 4.8, and they do the pricing from 33. So what you want to do is to go on Fiverr, same way that we just did, and study what they're doing. So what are they doing right? How do they preview their skills, and what are they informing their clients about? We can look at their packages. So you will have the option to make a basic package, which is your cheapest package, level up to standard, slightly pricier, and then we have premium. So when we look at how we can set up our services, we will be able to make 3 packages for our skills, for our service, and you can come and look at these people and see what they offer. And if it's doing so well for them, we could do something like that. You can go down here and see what they include in their gig description. So there's a Why Me section, deliverables, notes, and this is their profile. So this is the description that they created, the one that we were looking at earlier. So that's where it's going to show up. We have a compare packages section between these 3. Helps the client choose which one's best. There's frequently asked questions. We get to set this up ourselves. We ask the questions and put in the answers. Of course, finally, we have the reviews. There's a contact option. So that's just a chat box. We do get to choose how the clients can contact us. Is it via only email? Can they chat with you? Can they call you? That's all up to you. And yeah, so take your time to study some of these things. In a further lesson, we're going to dive deeper into this and see what we can gather from all of these freelancers. Let's go back to our profile. And these were the sections. Up here, we have notifications. So if someone contacts you, you win a gig, someone hires you, it shows up here. We have messages. Anyone that tries to chat with you or email you, you're going to get it here. There is the list. So you have go to freelancers that you want to use as inspiration. You would like their services and it will show up here. Kind of like a vision board in a way. We have the orders. So the orders that come in from your clients are going to show up here. With the profile, we have post a request, which is basically, if I go over here, is if you're looking for something to get done as a client, you could do that too, which is what we saw earlier. So post a request, refer to a friend. I'm sure you get a compensation for that if they come onto Fiverr. Become a seller, which we already are. Settings, billing and payments, and other stuff. If you are an agency, there is a team option, but you would have to upgrade to pro. So there's the other pro services if you want to hire someone. If you want to offer services as an agency, this is where you would go. So this was a general overview of how we can make our profile. The profile is really easy to make, as you saw. The main part is how you set up your gigs and how you sell yourself on this platform, which we're going to get into later. So I'll see you guys in the next lesson where we set up our first gig.